I'm a bit of a wreck right now, and this is my first post on Reddit, so bear with me. My 27-year-old wife and I, who is 28, have been married for 5 years, who I'll call Sarah, cheated on me, and I found out in the most humiliating way possible. This all started because she developed a gambling problem, but let me start from the beginning. Sarah and I have been married for 8 years. We met in college, and I was immediately drawn to her. She was beautiful, outgoing, and had this spark that made everyone around her feel alive. We got married right after graduation and started building our life together. Everything was great until about a year ago. Sarah got hooked on online gambling. It started with small bets, just for fun, but it quickly spiraled out of control. She'd stay up all night playing online casino games, and I noticed money disappearing from our joint account. I confronted her about it, and she promised to stop. She even went to a few Gamblers Anonymous meetings, but nothing seemed to help. Things got worse when I found out she had started going to a local bar where she would flirt with men to get free drinks. I didn't know about this at first, but I started getting suspicious when she began coming home late and smelling like cheap cologne. One night, I decided to follow her, and what I saw made my blood boil. Sarah was sitting at the bar, all dolled up, laughing and flirting with every guy who came near her. They'd buy her drinks, and she'd move on to the next one. I watched in disgust as she played these men for suckers, and then I saw her leave with one of them. I didn't confront her that night. Instead, I went home and waited. She came back a few hours later, reeking of alcohol and cheap perfume. When I asked her where she'd been, she brushed me off and said she was with her friends. I didn't push it, but I knew something was up. The next day, I decided to dig deeper. I found out she had a deal with the bar where she got a percentage of the drinks purchased by the men she flirted with. It was all about the money for her, and it made me sick to my stomach. Then came the final blow. A few weeks ago, she came home late again, but this time she was crying. She sat me down and confessed everything. She told me about the gambling, the flirting, the deal with the bar, and then she dropped the bombshell she had slept with 2 of the men she met at the bar. She didn't show any remorse. She just sat there, cold and detached, as if she were telling me about someone else's life. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. I didn't say anything. I just walked out. I needed to clear my head, so I drove around aimlessly for hours, trying to process everything. When I got home, she was already asleep. I slept on the couch that night, and every night since. I filed for divorce the next day. I couldn't look at her without feeling rage and disgust. I'm still in shock. I don't understand how she could do this to us, to our family. I thought we had a good life, but apparently, it wasn't enough for her. She was willing to throw it all away for a few cheap thrills and some quick cash. If anyone has been through something similar, I could really use some advice. How do you cope with this kind of betrayal? How do you move on and rebuild your life when everything you've known has been shattered? Any support or words of wisdom would be greatly appreciated. Hey everyone, it's been a couple of months since my last post, and I've got a lot to share. After Sarah confessed to cheating on me, I wasted no time. The next morning, I called up a lawyer and filed for divorce. When she got served the papers, the shock on her face was palpable, but I stayed calm. We divided our property, and surprisingly, I ended up with more. I think she expected a fight, but I just wanted it over with. The house, the cars, even the savings, we split everything, but I made sure to keep the things that mattered most to me. It was only fair given what she'd put me through. I moved into a small apartment downtown. It's nothing fancy, but it's mine. The first few weeks were rough. I started drinking more than I should have, trying to drown out the memories of our life together. I took down every photo, every memento that reminded me of Sarah, and shoved them into a box in the back of my closet. I couldn't bear to look at them. My new place was a mess for a while. Empty beer bottles and takeout containers were scattered everywhere. I was spiraling and I didn't know how to stop. Then, one day, Sarah's parents showed up at my door. They looked worn out, and I could see the pain in their eyes. They begged me to talk to her, to try and work things out, but I couldn't do it. I told them I was sorry, but there was nothing left to say. Sarah made her choices, and now she had to live with them. After they left, I realized I couldn't keep living like this. I had to find a way to move forward. I threw myself into work, trying to keep my mind occupied. But the nights were still the hardest. That's when the loneliness crept in, and I found myself reaching for the bottle more often than I should have. The worst part was how my so-called friends reacted. Almost all of them turned their backs on me. They didn't want to take sides, and I guess it was easier for them to stay out of it. It felt like I was losing everything: my wife, my home, and now my friends. I was at my lowest point when I decided to go back and read the comments on my first post. I was overwhelmed by the support and advice from strangers. People who didn't even know me were offering their sympathy, their understanding, and their encouragement. It gave me the strength I needed to start picking up the pieces of my life. I joined a support group for people going through divorce, and it helped to talk to others who were dealing with similar situations. There are still days when the pain is unbearable, when I wake up and expect to see Sarah next to me, only to remember that she's gone. But I'm slowly starting to find my way again. I'm focusing on being the best I can be, spending as much time as possible rediscovering myself. It's not always easy, but I have to keep moving forward. So after selling the house, I bought a small cabin in the mountains. It's a work in progress, but it's slowly becoming my sanctuary. Packing up the house was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. Each room held memories of the life we built together, and it was heartbreaking to see it all come to an end. I took my time going through everything, deciding what to keep and what to throw away. It was therapeutic in a way, a chance to reflect on the good times and let go of the bad. Living in the apartment was tough at first. It felt lonely and empty, and I struggled to adjust to my new reality. But I knew I couldn't let myself fall apart. I had to stay strong. The loneliness at night was the worst, and I turned to alcohol more than I should have. I realized I needed to find healthier ways to cope, so I started working out and picked up running. It helps clear my head and burn off some of the anger. My lawyer was incredible throughout the entire process. He was professional, efficient, and most importantly, he genuinely cared about my situation. He made sure I got a fair deal, and even though Sarah tried to make things difficult, we managed to come to an agreement without too much drama. I got the house, which I decided to sell, and a fair share of our savings. It felt like a small victory in an otherwise bleak time. Dealing with Sarah's betrayal was one thing, but dealing with the fallout from our friends was another beast entirely. Almost all of them turned their backs on me. They didn't want to get involved in the drama, and I guess it was easier for them to stay out of it. It hurt to see people I thought were my friends choose sides, and more often than not, it wasn't my side they chose. One of the worst moments was when a couple of my so-called friends at work started calling me a cuckold behind my back. I heard the whispers, saw the smirks, and it pissed me off like nothing else. These were people I thought I could rely on, and they turned out to be complete assholes. I confronted a few of them, but they just laughed it off. It made me realize how few real friends I had. Even my own parents weren't much help. My mom kept telling me to forgive Sarah and try to work things out. She couldn't understand why I was so determined to end things. My dad was no better. He called me a fool for walking away from the marriage and said I was being too harsh. It felt like the people who should have had my back were the ones stabbing me in it. The support from strangers on Reddit has been incredible. I never expected so many people to reach out with words of encouragement and advice. It's helped me more than I can express. Knowing that others have been through similar situations and come out the other side gives me hope that I can do the same. As for Sarah, I haven't spoken to her much since the divorce. She's been staying with her parents and trying to get her life back on track. I wish I could say I feel sorry for her, but I don't. She made her bed, and now she has to lie in it. I hope for her sake she can sort herself out, but that's her journey to take. There's no denying that this whole experience has changed me. I've had to reevaluate my life, my priorities, and my relationships. It's been a painful process, but I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm focusing on rebuilding my life, one step at a time, and creating a new future for myself. I've also started to get back into some of my old hobbies. I used to love fishing and hiking, but those things fell by the wayside during my marriage. Now, I've got the time and space to rediscover those passions. It's been a great way to clear my head and find some peace. I've also been thinking a lot about my future. For a while it felt like everything was falling apart, but now I'm starting to see that this could be an opportunity for a new beginning. I've been considering going back to school to finish my degree, or maybe even starting a new career. It's scary to think about such big changes, but it's also exciting. I feel like I have a chance to reinvent myself and create a life that truly makes me happy. One of the most significant realizations I've had is that I need to take care of myself. For so long, I was focused on Sarah and the life we had built, and I neglected my own needs. Now, I'm learning to put myself first. It's not selfish, it's necessary. I've started eating healthier, exercising more, and making time for self-care. It's amazing how much of a difference it makes. I've also made a conscious effort to surround myself with positive people. I've cut ties with those who weren't supportive and sought out new friendships. It's been refreshing to meet new people and form new connections. I've even started dating again, which has been an adventure in itself. I'm taking it slow, but it feels good to put myself out there again. Hey everyone, it's been a couple of months since my last update. So here's the thing. I understand how it looks. No one advised me to go back to her, but I needed to do it. I had to see for myself if there was anything left to salvage, even if it meant looking like a complete idiot. I called Sarah last week. I don't even know what I was expecting, but I just needed to talk to her. She sounded surprised but agreed to meet. We decided to go for a walk and talk things over. When I saw her, all those old feelings came rushing back. We walked for a while, talking about everything and nothing. She suggested we go back to her place for some tea. God, I wanted to have that tea, but I knew how it would end. I declined and went home feeling more confused than ever. The next day, we met again. When I arrived, all I could think about was how much I wanted her right then and there. We went inside, and it was like something snapped. We started fucking hard, like it was the first time. It was raw and intense, and for a moment, it felt like everything was right again. That was a week ago. Since then, I've been a mess. I don't know what to do next. Should I keep seeing her? Should I try to move on? I'm torn between wanting to rekindle something and the fear of being hurt again. I never thought I'd be in this position. Part of me hates myself for giving in, but another part of me just wants things to go back to the way they were. I know this isn't healthy, and I'm scared I'm making the wrong choices. What do I do? How do I navigate this mess without losing my sanity? Any advice would be greatly appreciated. After that last post, I was a mess. I didn't know what to do with Sarah, and my head was all over the place. A lot of you guys suggested I try moving on by dating other girls. And hell, I figured I might as well give it a shot. Maybe it'd help me get my mind off Sarah. For the past 2 weeks, I've been hitting the dating apps pretty hard. Met a few girls, went out for drinks, and yeah, I slept with 3 of them. I thought maybe getting back out there would help me feel something, anything. But you know what? It didn't. Sure, the sex was good, and the girls were nice enough, but it wasn't the same. Every time I was with one of them, I found myself thinking about Sarah. How fucked up is that? I thought I could drown out the memories of her by fucking someone new, but it didn't work. I kept comparing these girls to her, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. It was like chasing a high you know you'll never get again. I started to think maybe I was just screwed up beyond repair. Then came the shitstorm I didn't see coming. One night, I had this girl, let's call her Emma, over at my apartment. We were just hanging out, having a few drinks, and things started heating up. We ended up in bed, clothes flying everywhere, and I was just trying to lose myself in the moment. And that's when it happened. Out of fucking nowhere, Sarah shows up at my apartment. I didn't hear the door at first, but then there she was, standing in my bedroom doorway, staring at me with this horrified look on her face. Emma freaked out, and I just froze, dick in hand, not knowing what the hell to do. Sarah's eyes welled up with tears, and before I could even say anything, she turned and bolted out of the apartment. I was in shock. I pulled on my clothes as fast as I could and ran after her, but by the time I got outside, she was gone. Emma was understandably pissed and confused, and she left too, muttering something about not wanting to be part of my drama. I felt like the biggest asshole on the planet. I thought that was it, that Sarah would never want to see me again. But then, a couple of days later, she called me. She sounded calm, which scared the shit out of me. She asked if we could meet up and talk. I didn't know what to expect, but I agreed. We met at a park we used to go to. I was bracing myself for a fight, or for her to tell me she hated me, but she didn't. She just sat down and started talking. She said she'd been thinking a lot about everything that had happened between us. She admitted seeing me with another girl hurt, but she also said it was fair. Fair? That threw me for a loop. Then she suggested we spend more time together. She said she missed me and wanted to try and see if there was anything left between us worth saving. I was floored. I didn't know whether to be relieved or terrified. Part of me wanted to jump at the chance, but another part of me was scared shitless of getting hurt again. She's been coming over to my place more often since then. We haven't done anything physical, just talking and hanging out like we used to. It's confusing as hell. I don't know if I'm making a huge mistake or if this is some kind of second chance. I'm torn between wanting to make things work and the fear of falling into the same old traps. There are moments when I think we can actually make it work, but then there are times when the doubts creep back in. I'm not sure if I can trust her again, and I don't know if I'm just setting myself up for more pain. But damn it, I still love her, and that's what fucks me up the most. One night, after one of our hangouts, we got into a deep conversation. She asked me if I'd been seeing other girls, and I admitted that I had. She didn't get mad or anything. She just nodded like she expected it. Then she said something that hit me hard. She told me she'd been trying to move on too, but she couldn't. She said she missed me and regretted everything that happened. We ended up talking late into the night. She apologized again, and I could see the pain in her eyes. I knew she was sincere, but part of me was still angry. I told her how much she hurt me and how hard it's been to move on. She cried, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like we were actually connecting again. Now, here I am, a week later, writing this post because I don't know what the hell to do next. I'm so fucking confused. Part of me thinks we have a shot at making things work, but another part of me is terrified of getting hurt again. I'm torn between wanting to believe her and the fear that she'll just betray me again. Hey everyone, it's been a hell of a ride these past few months, and I've got some big updates to share. After everything that happened with Sarah, the divorce, trying to move on by dating other girls, and then that whole mess with her showing up at my apartment, I've realized something. All these events have affected my life very negatively. My mental state has been all over the place, and I've been struggling to keep it together. I thought I could handle it, but it's become clear that I need a change. So, I made a decision. I quit my job. Yeah, you heard that right. I handed in my resignation, and you know what? It felt like a massive weight was lifted off my shoulders. I've been working the same job for years, and it's been draining me, especially with all the personal shit going on. I couldn't keep going like this, pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. My financial situation is pretty solid. I got a decent amount from selling the house, and I've been smart with my savings, so I decided to do something drastic. I booked a one-way ticket to Bali. I'm going to spend the next 2 months there, away from all the bullshit, trying to find some peace and figure out what the hell I want from life. Bali has always been a dream destination for me. The beaches, the culture, the chance to just escape. It's exactly what I need right now. I've rented a small villa by the beach, and I plan to spend my days surfing, meditating, and just trying to heal. No more distractions, no more drama, just me, the ocean, and a chance to start over. When I told Sarah about my plans, she was shocked. She didn't understand why I needed to go so far away, but I think she gets it now. We had another long talk, and for once there were no tears or accusations, just two people trying to move on with their lives. She wished me well, and I honestly hope she can find some peace too. I've been in Bali for a week now, and it's been incredible. The sunsets here are like nothing I've ever seen, and the locals are some of the friendliest people I've ever met. I'm starting to feel a sense of calm that I haven't felt in a long time. It's still a struggle some days, but I'm getting there. The first few days were rough, though. I couldn't stop thinking about everything that happened. The hurt, the betrayal, the anger, it all came flooding back. But I've been forcing myself to get out, explore, and meet new people. I've joined a yoga class, something I never thought I'd do, and it's been surprisingly helpful. I've been journaling a lot, trying to make sense of my thoughts and feelings. It's helped to get everything out on paper, to see it laid out in front of me. I've written letters to Sarah that I'll never send, pouring out all the things I couldn't say to her face. It's been cathartic, and I'm starting to feel lighter, like I'm shedding old skin. If any of you have been through something similar, or if you've taken a big leap to find yourself, I'd love to hear your stories. How did you cope? What helped you the most? I'm open to any advice or words of wisdom. Thanks again for all your support. It means the world to me, and I'll keep you updated on my journey. Here's to finding peace, healing, and whatever comes next. Cheers. Hey everyone. It's been a year since my last post and I can't believe how much has changed. When I left for Bali, I was a mess. I had just quit my job, sold my house, and bought a one-way ticket to escape all the bullshit in my life. I thought 2 months would be enough to clear my head and figure out my next steps. Little did I know, those 2 months would turn into the most transformative year of my life. The first few weeks in Bali were tough. I was constantly thinking about Sarah and everything that had happened. I was angry, hurt, and confused. I spent a lot of time on the beach, just staring at the waves and trying to make sense of it all. But slowly, the island started to work its magic. The beauty of the place, the warmth of the people, and the sheer peace of being away from everything began to heal me. I had rented a small villa by the beach, and every morning I'd wake up to the sound of the ocean. I'd go for long walks along the shore, sometimes watching the sunrise, and it felt like I was slowly coming back to life. I joined a yoga class, which was something I never thought I'd do, but it turned out to be one of the best decisions I've ever made. The physical exercise, the meditation, and the sense of community helped me in ways I can't even describe. I also started surfing. I'd always wanted to try it, and Bali is one of the best places in the world for surfing. It was tough at first, lots of falling and wiping out, but I stuck with it. There's something about being out in the water, feeling the power of the waves, and riding them that's incredibly freeing. It became my therapy, my way of letting go of all the negative shit in my head. About a month into my stay, I met a guy named Tom. He was from Australia and had been living in Bali for a few years. We hit it off immediately and became fast friends. Tom introduced me to a whole new side of Bali, the hidden beaches, the local food spots, and the amazing people. We spent a lot of time exploring the island together, and he helped me see that there was so much more to life than the pain I'd been carrying. One night, over a few beers, Tom and I had a deep conversation about life, love, and everything in between. I told him about Sarah, the divorce, and how lost I felt. He listened without judgment, and then said something that stuck with me. "Mate, you can't let your past define you. It's just a chapter, not the whole story. You've got the rest of your life ahead of you. Make it count." That conversation was a turning point for me. I realized I had been letting my past control my present and my future. I needed to let go and start living for myself. So I made a decision. I extended my stay in Bali for another 2 months. I wanted to give myself the time and space to heal properly. During those months, I focused on self-improvement. I took cooking classes, learned more about Balinese culture, and even picked up a bit of the language. I made more friends, both locals and expats, and built a little community around me. It felt like I was finally starting to rebuild my life. I also started journaling regularly. Writing down my thoughts, feelings, and experiences helped me process everything. I wrote letters to Sarah that I never sent, and it felt good to get those emotions out. I wrote about my day-to-day life in Bali, the people I met, and the things I learned. It became a way for me to track my progress and see how far I'd come. After 4 months in Bali, I knew I wasn't ready to go back to my old life. I had changed too much, and the thought of returning to the same environment that had caused me so much pain was unbearable. So I made a bold decision. I decided to stay in Bali indefinitely. I found a more permanent place to live, a cozy bungalow a bit further inland, but still close to the beach. It felt like home. I also started looking for work. Given my financial situation, I didn't need a full-time job, but I wanted to do something meaningful. I ended up volunteering at a local school, teaching English to kids. It was one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. The kids were amazing, so eager to learn and full of life. They didn't care about my past or my baggage. To them, I was just Mr. John, the guy who taught them English and played soccer with them during recess. Their enthusiasm was infectious, and it gave me a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in a long time. For the first few months, I didn't hear much about her. We were both trying to rebuild our lives in our own ways. But eventually, word got back to me about how she was doing. Sarah stayed with her parents for a while, trying to get her life back on track. From what I've heard, she's been focusing on herself and trying to make amends for her past mistakes. She's been going to therapy regularly, which I think has helped her a lot. It seems like she's really trying to understand why she did what she did and how to prevent it from happening again. She found a new job in a different city, So she's been building a new life away from the place where everything fell apart. From what mutual friends have told me, she's been doing well professionally. She's even started dating someone new. It's not serious, but it seems like she's trying to take things slowly and avoid making the same mistakes. I ran into her a few months ago when I was back in town for a brief visit. It was awkward at first, but we managed to have a civil conversation. She apologized again for everything that happened, and I could tell she was genuinely remorseful. We talked about how our lives had changed, and I told her about my time in Bali. She seemed happy for me and said she was glad I found some peace. Overall, it seems like Sarah is doing her best to move forward and create a better life for herself. She's made a lot of mistakes, but she's also trying to learn from them and grow as a person. I think we both are. Life has a way of knocking you down, but it's how you get back up that matters. And from what I can see, Sarah is trying to get back up in her own way. As the months went by, I continued to grow and heal. I got better at surfing, made more friends, and even started dating again. Nothing serious, just casual relationships, but it felt good to connect with people without the pressure of my past weighing me down. Then, about 8 months into my stay, something unexpected happened. I met someone. Her name is Mia, and she's from Germany. We met at a beach party, and there was an instant connection. She was in Bali on a solo trip, trying to figure out her own life. We spent the entire night talking and laughing, and it felt like I'd known her forever. Mia and I started seeing each other regularly. She had a kind, adventurous spirit, and being with her felt easy and natural. We didn't rush things. We both had our own issues to work through, but we supported each other in the process. For the first time in a long time, I felt genuinely happy. One day, Mia and I were sitting on the beach, watching the sunset, and she asked me about my plans for the future. I realized I didn't have a concrete answer. I had been so focused on healing and living in the moment that I hadn't thought much about what came next. But I knew one thing for sure. I didn't want to leave Bali. It had become my home, and I couldn't imagine being anywhere else. Mia felt the same way. She decided to extend her stay in Bali, and we moved in together. It was a big step, but it felt right. We continued to explore the island, make new friends, and build a life together. We also started talking about our dreams and goals, and it became clear that we wanted to build something lasting. We came up with the idea to open a small beach cafe. It combined our love for food, community, and the ocean. We spent months planning, saving, and working on the details. With the help of our friends and the local community, we found a perfect spot and started building. The process was challenging, but it was also incredibly rewarding. We poured our hearts and souls into the cafe, and it became a reflection of everything we loved about Bali. We named it Sunset Dreams, and it quickly became a popular spot for both locals and tourists. We served fresh, healthy food, had live music nights, and hosted community events. It was everything we'd hoped for and more. Running the cafe gave me a sense of purpose and fulfillment I'd never felt before. It was hard work, but it didn't feel like a job. Mia and I made a great team, and our relationship grew stronger every day. We had our ups and downs, but we faced them together, knowing that we had each other's backs. Looking back on the past year, I can't believe how much has changed. I went from being a broken, angry man trying to escape his past to finding peace, love, and a new purpose in life. Bali saved me in ways I never could have imagined. I've learned so much about myself and what truly matters. I've let go of the anger and resentment, and I've forgiven Sarah. We've talked a few times, and she's doing better too. She's found her own path, and I'm genuinely happy for her. We both made mistakes, but we've grown from them. To anyone reading this who's going through a tough time, I want to say this: don't give up. Life can be incredibly hard, and it's easy to feel like there's no way out. But there is. Sometimes you just need to take a leap of faith, step out of your comfort zone, and give yourself the time and space to heal. It's not an easy journey, but it's worth it. Thank you to everyone who's been there for me, both in real life and through these posts. Your support has meant more to me than words can express. I'm excited about the future and what it holds. I'll keep you all updated on my journey, but for now, I'm just going to enjoy the ride. Cheers to new beginnings, healing, and living life to the fullest.